Biden's performance in Atlanta was as horrific as it was sad.
I don't speak as smoothly as I used to.
And now Democrats are in full panic mode with calls for the president to bow out of the race for someone younger.
I don't debate as well as I used to.
President Biden telling terrified Democrats from the safety of a teleprompter that he's not going anywhere after a bumbling debate performance set off a full-blown panic and calls to step aside.
I know how to tell the truth.
We'd probably never witness such a pivotal point in the political debate.
Deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party.
Very bad night for Joe Biden.
President Biden needs to step down for humanity, for his integrity, and for his legacy.
It's kind of a DEFCON 1 moment.
There are going to be discussions about whether he should continue.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all.
The universal reaction was somewhere approaching panic.
Conversations range from whether he should be in this race tomorrow morning to what was wrong with him.
This is not a story about who's better. In fact, most independent voters are double haters, meaning at this point they hate both candidates and think neither of them should be in office. This is rather a story about the importance of political speech, how they shape our perception of politicians, and how simple mishaps and a failure to communicate properly can cost you the most powerful office in the world.
Making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing with everything we had to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare, we're trying to provide housing for Black Americans. The impact on the choice. The idea that they're I've been proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I've not raised the cost of Social Security for anybody. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol, more asylum.
Political communication has a long history of propaganda, lies, and deception.
It was a hoax. It was someone sending a picture of a wiener on Wiener's account. It's one of the jokes I've been getting since I was 5 years old. This was a gag. This was a joke that someone committed on me to try to distract me.
Now, my fellow Americans, there's an old saying that nothing spreads so quickly as a rumor. So I thought it was time to speak with you directly, to tell you firsthand about our dealings with Iran.
My system was hacked. I was pranked. It was a fairly common one. People make fun of my name all the time. When your name Wiener, you kind of get that.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time.
I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. Went back to law school and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only needed 123 credits.
Biden now concedes he did not graduate in the top half of his law school class, that he does not have 3 degrees from college, and that he was not named outstanding political science student in college.
Newsweek says Biden actually went to school on a half scholarship, ended up near the bottom of his class, and won only 1 degree, not 3.
Is Joe Biden dead meat, yes or no?
I think so.
From Thursday until the start of December, you must stay at home. You may only leave home for specific reasons.
The pressure is on Boris Johnson to answer allegations that he attended a boozy lockdown party in May 2020.
What I can tell you is that all the guidelines were observed, continue to be sorry. And I'm sorry for the things we simply didn't get right, and also sorry for the way that this matter has been handled.
To all the men and women of the United States Armed Forces now in the Middle East, the peace of a troubled world and the hopes of an oppressed people now depend on you. The people of the United States and their friends and allies will not live at the mercy of an outlaw regime that threatens the peace with weapons of mass murder.
People have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
As president, I must put the interests of America first. Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us.
Us here today do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats, which is what they're doing, and stolen by the fake news media. That's what they've done and what they're doing.
Unfortunately, people rarely care about lies. It has become a given in political speech, which is why Donald Trump lying on the debate stage didn't matter as much. If we analyze this debate through the simple lens of Aristotle's rhetorical triangle, we can clearly see why Joe Biden was criticized for his performance. The logos concerns your arguments, and the president managed to destroy his own argument not only by not being able to communicate them in a coherent way, but also by giving Trump ammo at times to use against him. The ethos is the part that appeals to the authority, credibility, and moral character of the speaker. Although Joe Biden might be perceived as a person of moral character, it doesn't actually convey authority because of its obvious physical weaknesses. Even his facial expressions kind of look lost at times.
A lot of people have resting 25th Amendment face.
The pathos is about touching your audience, but the most prominent emotion that Joe Biden stirred that night was pity.
That was painful. I love Joe Biden. I work for Joe Biden. He didn't do well at all.
You hear lots of people talk about how sad it was to see the president in such a state. One thing to keep in mind is that language is a performance. In the early 20th century, a Swiss linguist by the name of Ferdinand de Saussure made the difference between the two main components of language, langue and parole. He described langue as the building block of the language, so things like grammar, syntax, and phonology. And he defined parole as the physical manifestation of these things, especially in the form of writing and speech. Strong grammar might be important, but ultimately, the way it is expressed is what matters. Noam Chomsky came up with the idea of competence versus performance in the 1950s. He described competence as the mental knowledge of the language and performance as the actual observed use of that language. In the realm of political communication, people don't care about competence as much as they care about performance, and Donald Trump is the manifestation of that. According to an analysis that ranks presidential addresses on the Flesch-Kincaid grade level scale, it was found that Trump speaks at around mid-4th grade, the worst since Harry Truman, who spoke at nearly a 6th grade level. Maybe that's his real strength. His words are so down to earth that people don't care about his linguistic intelligence. But one thing that he has is performance. At times, he looks like a stand-up comedian, working a crowd, spewing nonsense, but it just doesn't matter. Performance trumps competence in the political landscape. And Noam Chomsky truly encapsulates this idea in 1986, where he made a parallel between I language and E language. I language is the internal or intrinsic linguistic knowledge of the speaker, whereas E language is the external or output of the language. In a presidential debate, the latter is way more important. Now the question is, do these debates actually matter? In a two-party system, which makes American voters more and more tribal, does it matter what people say in these debates? The short answer is yes, these debates do matter. And to test that, you can just look at how much panic this has stirred all over the place. Also, in politics, everything matters, at least in the negative sense of the term. These debates in themselves might not be able to boost your approval rating, but they can actually destroy your political future. Another thing to keep in mind is that these debates provide additional exposure. I think one thing that we might forget as news consumers is that there are lots of people who don't tune into politics that often. Around 2015, 67% of Americans said they were very or extremely extremely interested in news. This dropped to 49% in 2023. There was an estimated 51 million people tuning in to watch the debate on CNN. This is important exposure for any candidate. This is also an opportunity for any candidate to set the record straight, to inform or mislead the American people. A survey in 2023 found that 37% of Americans did not know which party controlled the Senate, and 34% did not know which controlled the House. And when it comes to the economy, nearly 3 in 5 Americans wrongly believed that the US was in a recession. So, what political nerds might consider to be common knowledge, your average American might not be aware of. All in all, language is a powerful political weapon, and a failure to express yourself properly makes it harder to lie, deceive, and even convince your constituents.